Hello everybody, today we're going to read an article together on the 7 habits of people who are pretending to be good, also known as narcissistically abusive personalities. This is according to a research article. We're going to read this article together to see what it gets right and what it gets wrong. Let's talk. My name is Kevin and this is The Royal We. Now, before we dive into this article together, I want to remind you that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. Also, The Royal We has a private membership available for you where you can get daily support, not only from me, but a growing community of people from all over the world. Now, I do have a workout program for you. We have weekly fellowship together. So for those of you who want to explore what the Bible has to say about narcissistic abuse, head on down, check out the private membership. Now then, hope you all are staying nice and cozy and warm wherever you are in your part of the world. It is currently 7 degrees here in the Midwest, which makes this nice, big, fluffy fur jacket that much more warmer. So for those of you in the back saying, oh, who is this narcissistic guy wearing a fur coat? Settle down. It's keeping me warm. All right. Now let's jump into this topic together. We are talking about the 7 habits of people who have mastered the art of pretending to be good, also known as narcissistic people, because they do master the art of pretending, now don't they? This article is brought to us by Small Business Technology, because apparently small business technology is all up in narcissism. I'm not going to read the article word for word. I'm just going to cover the main points that this article brings to our attention, and we're going to see whether or not it makes any sense. And those of you who've dealt with narcissistic abuse, you're going to be able to tell right away, and maybe we'll see what we can add to the article or take away from it. Beginning with number 1. The first sign that you're dealing with somebody who is pretending to be a good person, according to business technology, is that they're exceptionally good listeners. I feel like there's something missing from this. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is wrong. The way it's written is wrong. Now, there are people who are exceptionally good listeners, also known as empathic people, or just people who know how to listen to others, who are not pretending to be a good person. They really are good listeners. I like to think of myself as a pretty decent listener. I've been a coach listening to people for the past 10 years. I've developed some pretty good listening skills, but at the same time, I would also add that I cut people off mid-sentence and ask an awful lot of questions and change the subject, so maybe that doesn't count. No, not really. I am a decent listener. For those of you who do need support, you can head on down to the description box, schedule some time with me. I promise I will not just cut you off and ask tons of questions and change the subject on you. I'm pretty good at listening. But according to this particular article, they say that they are exceptionally good listeners. That's something to look out for. But I want to take a deeper dive here because I don't think that that's necessarily true. What I have discovered is that people who are pretending to be good are not exceptionally good listeners. They're exceptional at performing, at acting like they're listening. That's what's exceptional about it. It's not that they're listening, it's that they're acting like they are listening. You could tell the difference between somebody who is really listening to you and somebody who is acting and pretending and performing like they're listening to you. Typically look at the exaggerations of their mannerisms, the way in which they lean into you, and they mirror you when they talk. And they're like, oh, really? Uh-huh. Yeah? Oh, is that right? Oh, uh-huh. Their exaggerated expressions while listening is probably an indication that they are trying to listen. They're performing while they're listening, and that is what's exceptional. It's their performance. And if you're not careful, you might buy into it. It reminds me of when I was dealing with the narcissistic in-laws. The grandmother was notorious for this. Whenever I would share something with her, she'd go, oh, really? Oh, Kevin, oh, well, you just have so much to say, don't you? Oh, okay then, all right. And I remember having this icky feeling like you didn't hear a word I said, did you? Interesting. It kind of reminds me of the movie Wayne's World. How many of you remember Wayne's World? I know by now I'm dating myself here, right? It's a vintage movie at this point. But it was funny back when I was in high school. At any rate, there's a scene in Wayne's World where Wayne and his buddy Garth are in a radio station having an interview with this radio show host. And the radio show host is asking him questions, but also fiddling around with his radio stuff. And so they're talking about what's exciting them, and the radio host is like, yeah, that's cool. All right. Oh, yeah, all right. And Wayne and Garth catch on to the fact that he's not really listening, and so they start playing with him. They're like, the radio show host is an absolute tool, isn't he? And the radio show host was like, oh, yeah, all right, yeah. And it was all live on air in the movie and everything. So it makes it funny. But that's what it kind of reminds me of. When you're dealing with somebody who is pretending to listen but really isn't, that is what you have to watch out for. That's somebody who's pretending to be a good person, not somebody who actually is an exceptionally good listener. So we have to know the difference. I would say, again, the key takeaway here, if you want to know the difference, look at their mannerisms while they're listening. Are they contributing to the conversation, or are they just wide-eyed and pretending to mirror you and be like, oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's going to let you know whether or not they are exceptionally good at performing, or if they're really an exceptionally good listener who's engaging with you. Let's move on to number two. Number two, according to this article, says that they are excellent communicators. Excellent communicators. I feel like this, once again, is missing something. Because communicators, people who are good at communicating, good at talking with you, good at being direct and giving you insight, that's not necessarily them pretending to be a good person. Perhaps they really are engaging with you in conversation, especially if they're really listening to you. They're going to be a good communicator, right? I feel like this article is kind of bashing empaths at this point. What you do have to watch out for when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, however, is their directness. That can come across as being a good communicator when really they're just bullies. They just sputter out like with diarrhea of the mouth. They vomit out all kinds of things your way, rarely asking you any questions. As a matter of fact, the attitude of somebody who is pretending to be good literally just walks up to you and doesn't ask you any questions, doesn't try to gain any information from you, but tells you what's best for you, tells you what's good for you, tells you what you ought to do. How many of you have experienced that? You should do this. You should do that. And it can come across as them trying to help you and be a good communicator and straightforward when really they're just being bullies. They're not interested in your thoughts. They're not interested in what you feel about something. They're just nailing you with all this stuff. And I feel like that's what you have to watch out for. That's not being a good communicator. That's just being a bully. That's being a verbal bully, overpowering, dominating somebody without trying to gain any information, without trying to ask questions. They're just trying to dominate the conversation, tell you what you should do, tell you what's best for you. Oh, one of the worst things that I see these types of personalities do, narcissistic personalities, is indicate in some way that they know what you're thinking. Huge red flag when somebody's like, oh, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're about to say. They cut you off mid-sentence saying, I know what you're saying. I know what you're trying to say. I know what and you're like, no, you don't. How could you? You don't have my mind. Let me get my thoughts out. Right? If you ever find yourself in a situation where somebody's not letting you get your thoughts out, they're cutting you off, acting like they know what you're thinking, you're dealing with somebody who's pretending to be good. Because only narcissistic people lack the desire to truly understand you. To them, being good is not understanding you. To a narcissistic person, being a good person doesn't mean they have to listen to you. It means that they have to just diarrhea out their thoughts onto you. And so they'll tell you what they think, and you're left like, that has nothing to do with what I was trying to say. But what can you do? They're a narcissist. They're just pretending to be good. This is how you know they're pretending to be a good person. They're failing to listen to you. They're failing to ask you questions. They're failing to invite you into a conversation. They're failing to actually listen, which this article attacked, right? Number one, they're failing to listen, and instead they're just talking. They're talking at you. That's how you know you're dealing with a narcissistic person. Let's move on to number 3. They always appear helpful. They always appear helpful. Somebody who is pretending to be good. Again, this isn't always the case. People who are trying to be helpful are not trying to be a good person, not for the sake of manipulation. Perhaps they are people pleasers by their nature, which means they have a servant's heart. Many of you are people pleasers, which is a beautiful thing. And this is what's wrong with articles like this. In fact, I'm starting to believe that this article is written by a narcissistic person. Who wrote this? Let me see. That guy? Look, I don't know. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody here. But when I see things like this, number 3, they always appear to be helpful. Narcissists have a problem with empathic people who are genuinely helpful. Those of you who have a servant's heart, those of you who are people pleasers by your nature, you're going to notice that when you're around the company of narcissistic people, they start to demean you and devalue you because you're doing so much. And it really makes no sense. You give to them, you love them, and you'll see them become angrier and angrier with you. How many of you have experienced things like this? Well, according to this article, this seems to be like from a narcissistic viewpoint. People who are always helpful. I can't stand that. I feel like I was dealing with that when I was back with those in-laws, right? Walking into the house, trying to be helpful, trying to wash the dishes after dinner, trying to help them do, and it's like they're just getting angry. Who's this guy? I had no ill intention. I just wanted to be helpful to them. So again, it's not that I was pretending to be a good person. It's that I thoroughly enjoy helping people. That's why I became a coach. And I don't pretend to be a good person by talking with people and helping them out of narcissistic abuse and helping them get their lives back together, which is what I enjoy doing. And you can schedule some time with me down below. I do it because I love that. I love to be with people as they have a light bulb moment. I love being with people to help give them the insight to either leave a toxic relationship from somebody who is bashing them for being helpful or demeaning you in any other form of way. So this is an incomplete thing. They are always helpful. They always appear helpful. That in and of itself is not an indication that somebody's trying to be good. But with narcissistic people, you will notice that, again, like I said, they forcefully and they will, in a bullying way, try to be helpful. This is, in fact, the clear difference. I had one situation back with the in-laws again. It was a Christmas Eve, and I was helping my son open one of his gifts from one of them. It happened to be this toy that was packaged, and one of the in-laws walked right up, didn't ask me anything, grabbed the thing right out of my hand and said, it's on the back. You got to do this. And dude, I'm thinking to myself in that moment, I'm like, I'm in my 30s. I'm a man. I could have figured this out. But these types of personalities, the ones you have to watch out for, they don't care. They're just going to see any opportunity to bully their way and grab something from you as if they're trying to help you, but really it's done in a way that undermines you, makes you leave the situation feeling like you're inadequate, makes you feel demasculinated, makes you feel like you're not capable. That's really what you got to watch out for. It's not people who are just trying to help you genuinely, who are asking you if you need help. Right? And that's something that I like to do. Whenever I'd go over there, I'd ask, can I help you with this? Can I help you with that? And I feel like narcissistic people look at that as pretending to be a good person, when really I look at it the opposite. I look at somebody who just bulldozes their way like a bully, grabs something from you, does it for you. To see, that's how you do it. I look at that as being somebody who is trying to be a good person because it's just too forceful. And that there's nothing good about being forceful in that way, right? Let's move on to number 4. They exhibit charm and charisma. Again, this article is interesting. I feel like we are reading an article from the perspective of a narcissistic person who has a problem with a lot of empaths. Because while, yes, there are situations and there are people with charm and charisma that you have to watch out for, but charm and charisma in and of itself is not somebody who is trying to be a good person. Some people just have charm and charisma. They just have a outlook on life. They have a way of communicating. A lot of it comes down to your desire to connect with others. If I could really paint an image for you of what true charm and charisma is, it's a genuine love for people. That's really what it is. All right. With narcissistic people, there's a different type of charm and charisma. It typically has nothing to do with their genuine love for others. It has more to do with the love for themselves. That's really how you're going to know the difference. Is they exhibit a charm and charisma that's all about them. But in and of itself, charm and charisma, it doesn't mean they're pretending to be a good person. It just means that they have that thing. They have that twinkle in their eyes. They have that energy. They have that confidence. That's another thing too. We have to make sure that we're not just looking at somebody who is confident within themselves and calling that charm and charisma and narcissistic and trying to be good. I mean, for example, I know a lot of people out there might be looking at the fact that I'm able to wear this jacket, right? I've made this comment numerous times and say, it's narcissistic. I like it. I'm okay with having the confidence to wear this, right? Doesn't mean I'm trying to be a good person or I'm trying. No. But again, a lot of narcissistic types of personalities, they hate that. They hate somebody's independent confidence and ability to dress the way they want to dress and not care about it. I said this before, I'll say it again. Charm and charisma, whether it's mine, whether it's yours, whether it's me wearing a jacket like this, whatever, it should not be offensive. This should not be abusing anybody, right? If somebody feels abused because I'm wearing this jacket, that sounds like that person needs some serious help, right? Have you ever felt that way? Somebody got mad at you because the way you dressed, you're acting like the way I'm dressing is abusive towards you. So weird. But then again, narcissistic people are very weird, and they actually do feel abused by your confidence. They do feel abused by your charm. They do feel abused by the way you dress. They do feel abused at the fact that you like things that they don't. They feel abused by this stuff. They feel abused that you are different than them in any way, shape, or form. They can't help it. That's what makes them narcissistic people. Again, I feel like this article is written from the perspective of a narcissist who is attacking people who have a charm, a charisma, or a confidence, saying, oh, they're just trying to be good. Look at them wearing that jacket. They're trying to be good. Anyways, moving on. Number 5, they are masters of emotional intelligence. Masters of emotional intelligence. Wow. Look, what's the opposite of being a master of emotional intelligence? Well, the opposite is being emotionally stupid. And a lot of times narcissistic people are emotionally stupid. This is why they go from relationship to relationship, not caring about the feelings or the emotions of others. This article is saying that masters of emotional intelligence, meaning being able to have an emotional conversation, being able to connect deeply with somebody on an emotional level, meaning asking questions, meaning resolving conflicts. These are good things, and this is what emotionally intelligent people do. If you're emotionally intelligent, You want to resolve conflicts with others. You want to ask questions. You want to try to understand what somebody else is feeling and why they're behaving a certain way. Now, if you bring that into a toxic relationship with a narcissistic person, what's going to happen? They're going to see that as an attack, aren't they? How many of you have dealt with toxic, narcissistic people in your life? You've tried to sit down with all sincerity and genuineness and authenticity and vulnerability, and you've said, let's talk about this. Let's talk about our issues because I care. I care about this relationship. I care about how we're treating each other. And you're trying to show this emotional intelligence. You're not trying, but you are, by the way. You're trying to resolve conflict. You have the emotional intelligence to do that. It takes emotional intelligence. Those of you who want to resolve conflict in your toxic relationships, whether it's with family, a marriage, or whatever, the ones who are trying to resolve conflicts are the emotionally intelligent. And for whatever reason, this article, this guy says that masters of emotional intelligence are trying to be good people. Again, I feel like this article is written from the perspective of a narcissist because they have no desire whatsoever to deal with people who are emotionally intelligent. This is why your toxic family, your narcissistic husband, narcissistic wife does not want to sit down and talk with you. They don't want to resolve the conflict with you because they lack emotional intelligence. As a matter of fact, they look at it as being fake. They look at it as you trying to be good. They look at it as you trying to manipulate them. They don't see it as being good, and that's really difficult. They look at it as a bad thing. Again, they look at it as, in a way, you attacking them. So you have to understand that masters of emotional intelligence aren't people trying to be good. It's a genuine gift. It's a genuine attribute that you have to be emotional intelligent, right? It's a good thing. Again, this article has got to be from the perspective of a narcissist who can't stand these qualities of a true empathic, emotionally intelligent person. Moving on to number 6. They show a lot of patience. Wow. Okay. Now we know for sure that this article is written from the perspective of a narcissistic individual because only narcissists can't stand it when others show patience. Oh my goodness. When I was dealing with the toxic narcissistic in-laws, the more I let bounce off my shoulders of their demeaning, devaluing comments, the more I showed up for them despite the way they were talking about me, the angrier and angrier they got. How many of you have been in situations like this? You are doing your best to eat their sugar-covered turd sandwiches, and you're still showing up. You're letting things slide. You're letting it bounce off your shoulders. Worse than that, you're stuffing a lot of stuff down. And by the way, it's not good to stuff things down. If you are a stuffer, head on down, schedule some time with me. Let's talk about it and why it's not good. But stuffing things down, trying to show up, you're showing patience in the relationship. You're not trying to treat them the way they're treating you. You're trying to treat them better. You're trying to show them a better way. You're being patient with them. And they're just getting more angry. Well, as this person says, again, this is from the perspective of a narcissist. Showing a lot of patience to a narcissist, to them, is you trying to be a good person. And a narcissistic person hates that. I'm convinced now that this article is written from the perspective of a narcissist. If you want to know what a narcissist thinks, read this article. They can't stand people who show patience. How dare you show patience? After all, they're cussing you out. They're demeaning you. They're devaluing you. They're treating you like garbage. How dare you be patient with them? How dare you show signs of emotional intelligence, which was the last one, number 5. Wow. Here we are. We're gaining insight into the mind of a narcissist here together, folks, right? Number 7, they're always positive and optimistic. Look at that. American flag. That woman's wearing an American flag. They're always positive and optimistic. Another thing that irritates narcissistic people, yet again, the last one is definitely an indication this article comes from the perspective of a narcissistic person because they hate those who are positive and optimistic. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're positive and optimistic and they're a narcissist, they're going to get angry that you're positive, that you're trying to see light in the darkness, that you're trying to bring a light into the darkness. Once again, they're looking at it as you just trying to be a good person. You're trying to be a good person. Shame on you. You're fake. You're fake. It's fake. Trying to bring positivity, trying to be optimistic. What they're failing to mention here is that, again, by your nature, there are people who are just genuinely positive and optimistic. You want to see the best in people. You want to see the best in relationships. You deserve to be in a relationship, by the way, with somebody who you can help them be the best version of them, and they're helping you be the best version of you. Together, that's where the fireworks are going to be, baby. But when you're with a narcissistic person and you're optimistic and you're a positive person and they're a narcissist, oh, they're going to feel attacked. They're going to feel like you're fake. They're going to accuse you of being fake. Why? Is it because you are? Is it because you're pretending to be a good person? No. It's because by their nature, they're mean. By their nature, they're nasty. I feel like we need to have this conversation about toxic narcissistic people. What it is you're truly up against is somebody's nature. It's like a deer and a bear being together, right? Deers do what deers do with positivity and optimism, right? Bears do what bears do out of meanness. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but you get the point. Narcissistic people, by their nature, they're not very positive. They don't have a positive outlook on life. They view the world as a competition. They view the world as suffering and pain. And so for them to be around somebody who's positive and optimistic, they hate that. They see it as fake. They see it as someone who's trying. Where you, and I happen to fall into this category myself, even though we know the world is a place of suffering, we want to see the best of what we can become, what we can accomplish, and what we can help others to do. And there's nothing fake about that. It's not trying to be a good person. It's a genuineness. So this article, there it is right there, folks. The 7 habits of people who've mastered the art of pretending to be a good person. I'm going to go ahead and say this guy is something else. This article's whack. And it's no wonder. It's from Small Biz Technology. Small Biz Technology, if you ever see this video, I encourage you to write articles on business technology and not on relationships and the 7 habits of people who master the art of pretending to be good, because this article's absolute nonsense. If you like this video and you want more reviews of articles that are out there, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know if you agree or disagree with many of the points that I made in this message, and I will be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We. If you're brand new to this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. That's how this channel and this message gets spread. Hit the like button, share this video with somebody, and check out one of these videos recommended by the YouTube algorithm because it believes that you would benefit from this video. I'll be back, everybody. Have a great evening.